Perfect. Okay, welcome to the second Fluent community meeting. We had a meeting last week to talk a little bit specifically on the Fluent operator project and bringing that into the Fluent ecosystem. So I think there's a couple of work items that are over there. I think it might be noted in this. Yep. In this meeting, we have a couple of agenda items already here. So maybe we can just start with that. Pat? Want to go ahead and talk about tracking releases?
Yeah, I think I brought it up FluentCon briefly and last time as well. Um, it's come up a few times. Certainly for me, there's a couple of issues that I've tried to capture there. If we do a fix, which release does it go in? It can be quite hard to figure out just looking at GitHub where it's gone in, and also kind of the longer term roadmap. So there's stuff coming in like 1.8. I think there's stuff today. In fact, Eduardo like 1.83 is doing some systemd changes that someone asked about as well. So it's just those kind of things. People may already have Fluent Bit in production or using it, and there's some feature you guys are adding, but they're looking at evaluating some other way of doing that or stuff like that, and it would be quite useful to know what's coming up. So those are the two main questions I was trying to solve, and it's come up a few times in Slack as well and stuff like that. When is this fixing which release? And I've had to look a few times, and it's just a bit of a nightmare to figure out with the cherry picking. So I tried to capture some thoughts and some of the stuff that like Eduardo's already done. So I tried to capture that. I think the first bit was just kind of documented the release process a bit because I don't know what it is. I'm obviously you guys do, but from externally as a user of it, it's like, well, when a release is happening and what's going to be in them would be quite useful just to know that this is coming into this release. And things like, is there options to pull in like a release branch or something before it's released? So I've got a load of integration tests that I can run, when I build it from source and stuff like that. So it'd be quite useful to say, oh, we're about to release this one, or it's a beta or something like that, try and get a bit more coverage of it then as well. So Eduardo knocked out that wiki page. I think you asked me, didn't you? And I just said, well, let's put it on the GitHub wiki, but is that the right place to put it for people? I figured, you're looking at the source code, you got the wiki there as well. It'd be quite useful. I think all the contribution stuff is all in the repo as well, so it makes sense. I mean, there's the docs as well. Maybe end users are consuming it from FluentBit.io. Maybe it's better to put there. So that's probably a question for people. There's a few questions in here. It's just my ideas at the moment, so feel free to disagree or suggest anything else. I'm more than happy to give you a hand with this, Eduardo. I know you're quite busy doing the actual important work of developing stuff and implementing things rather than documenting it. So I'm happy to do that. A few suggestions from Slack. There wasn't a huge amount of response, but we got a few. Keeping it simple is the main one. We don't want to add a load of overhead to doing a release for people doing the release. And also, you don't want to be overwhelmed with information. It's just try and answer those two questions. I think, like, what changes are in a release, or which releases are changing, and what are you doing sort of on the roadmap. So I had a few ideas there. I don't, on roadmap as well, people get a bit nervous. You put dates on it, things like that. People go, oh, well, that's when it's going to be released. Now I was just thinking more like Q1, Q2, Q3 kind of things, which is what actually GitHub's roadmap does as well, which is quite convenient. Obviously, you have to explain when Q1 is, because it might be different. You might be in January, you might be in October for some strange date system. So it's you just have to do that. But that's what I was thinking. I've got a couple of links there. So there's the GitHub roadmap, which is it's a bit busy, to be honest. There's a lot of it, but it's quite well documented because they obviously have to do lots of different features for different things. So it might be worth having a look at how they do some of their feature and release branches and stuff like that. So that documentation's it goes through the phases and stuff like that. So I would say it's probably a lot more than you potentially want. But it's probably complete and working there. And then they've got this, which is, you can see everything, but if you see what I mean, it is a bit like, where's my feature? So, but if you actually click on it, I don't think it actually tells you when. You can kind of see where it is, but I couldn't see a way of. Oh no, you can, yeah. So it has got the actual thing. So those kind of things, like if we had something like that, it might be nice to have. But again, not too much overhead on people actually doing the work. Is there a way you can automate that? Can we just tag stuff quite easily and get help? Those are my kind of ideas. And obviously Microsoft are doing loads of work in, I think that GitHub's pushed out some new discussions or whatever they've called it now and things like that. So it's whether we adopt some of that stuff, which they seem to be pushing quite hard, but might not be very good. So that's the gist of it. Does anyone have any comments, suggestions?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. For example, I think that, okay, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best solution to share what's coming up on a specific release, right? Sometimes we have two kind of contributions, right? One of them are kind of a contribution for fixes, contribution for feature sets. For new features, right, that none of the maintainers are aware about it, might take more time to review, right? But also we found that sometimes when we are releasing, for example, Git master, which development for us, we found a fix for something, we just cherry pick this back to 1.8. The change that we did in the last weeks was trying to always force a PR, even for dummy small changes. But the thing is the following, here's the problem. The PRs are not the problem, but when merging the PRs, right? Personally, because of maintenance, we are using the rebase option instead of merge. Otherwise, when you get the whole git log for the project, you just get a bunch of merge commit without details about what is the commit about, right? That's why when we rebase stuff, we get which interface or component got modified and what was the change. And it's an easy way also to backport those changes that landed on master to a stable release, for example, at the branch 1.8. So I think that there are two things that we have to fix. The first one is find a way. I don't know if GitHub Actions allows that or anything on GitHub, like for every commit that lands in a PR, get the PR number on every commit. I think that that will simplify a lot of stuff, right? So at the end, we're going to have all the commits for our release. These are all the changes plus the PR number. So you can get a reference about in GitHub what was the change. But that is not there. That is one thing that we need to fix. Secondly, I like the idea of using labels. I think that we have to come up with a structure of how to use the labels. For example, if I have a PR that was, for example, you Pat send a PR for master, right? Because everything should be for master first, right? And something this is a good addition also for 1.8, right? What kind of labels do we use in order to know that this must be backported to the stable branch? Looks like Grafana is using that mechanism. Looks like I saw it some weeks ago, but I will let get more opinions and suggestions on that. But at least from cherry picking the commits is what is working from the maintenance perspective, but we need to find the solution of how to expose those changes with PR number in a better way.
Got it. So we can like automate some of this away with some GitHub actions, and then we can try to label it. I think the public roadmap idea is a pretty good idea. I think I'm trying to think of how far we could go out. Like, do we want to do a 1 year type roadmap? And that might be a bit hard, to be honest.
And you could just have, short, medium, long term stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I think at least 2 quarters seems pretty reasonable. And yeah, I wouldn't mind putting that together. And what we could do is also share it in this community meeting. So at least one of the 3 community meetings every quarter, is, hey, this is a review of what the roadmap has. And yeah, this is what the focus is for X version. And of course, subject to change, right? Also like, hey, we're seeing this trend growing. We're going to work on that a little bit more. But I think that might help a lot as well. Also, it would help because we'll be able to see how many people, can spend some time doing certain things that are in the roadmap, but we don't know where they'll land, right? So yeah, I like the idea of using the wiki and creating like one of these giant GitHub projects.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but I'm sure it's probably documented.
Yeah, I think for sure.
Yeah, with the roadmap, the thing that I think that we have to figure out how to handle is like, okay, for example, me as Eduardo, I can put in the roadmap what I'm planning to do for the project, but that does not cover what other people would like to have,
Right.
and who's going to do it, right? So I think that is, for example, yeah, GitHub is different because it's an enterprise product with a product line with engineers assigned to it, right? Here, yeah, so from Calitia's side, yeah, we have some engineers assigned to working on the full time in the project. So we can put what we are working on and what our efforts, right, on our areas. But that should not be the whole picture of the project, right? Because also we have to coordinate with invite Amazon folks who are contributing, Google folks also, and how to build this this roadmap. Also, I think yeah, we have to make this roadmap, but I don't know how to specify that this is kind of flexible enough, right? That if we decide someday to push some features for the next quarter, we're not going to get a pushback from the community. Hey, you said you're going to do this on this time, but it doesn't work like that, right? But I understand that we should have some organization because the end user also understand what Pat is saying. It's like, me as an end user, I want to know what is coming up.
Right.
Yeah, and that is really important, right? So actually for this year, I think that we were pretty set. Like we knew that we wanted to jump into metric space and then create a different collector for metrics and create Prometheus connectors, all of that. We also said we want to jump into, well, rewrite a multi-line core feature, which we are still working on that. We just shipped it, but it still needs more work. And we also said, yeah, we're going to jump into WASM.
Okay.
Right? Maybe we can focus on most, I don't know, biggest areas than very detailed
Oh yeah, I don't
contributions.
think my I would prefer big chunkier things. I mean, I'd also say maybe we should just try. We probably won't come up with the perfect solution immediately, and it might be we try a few things and they don't work, or that there's a bit of feedback and we iterate them as well. Because I know like you guys are presenting some of this kind of information at FluentCon, but people may not have the time or go to see it as well. So it'd be good to have, this is the kind of areas we're working on. Like metrics, I didn't really know about until FluentCon, and I was busy trying to find another way to combine metrics and logging as well. So it's useful to have that.
Yeah. So I think high level should be fine. I think we give the regular disclaimers that this is
yeah. I agree with you that too, where and there's a perspective from a Fluent community, if we were to expand to newer like domain, for example, like metrics and then Windows metrics, or if you were to expand to, let's say, even endpoints like, iOS, Android. I don't know if we would expand, but bigger picture where we're heading. And then I think if you had to go deeper in specific domain, I think that's another dimension that we might be able to add. So, but I think that way people know the vector of where we are going. Then that granularity should be kind of good enough for people to understand where we can use Fluent bit, Fluent D in their own use.
Oh, and that's a good thing because we had to think what is being proposed here is just for Fluent Bit or Fluent D2. Right. So I think that part is mostly on the Fluent Bit side.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Which
we
is fine
still
for
need
the
to work
first step, yep.
the same for Fluent D.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the community meeting is probably a good place to at least like, hey, this is what we believe it's going to be, and if folks have other thoughts, ideas, objections, you know, we can try to solve it. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's a good start at least. I think right
And
now.
maybe we could set a bit of time, 5 minutes for each community meeting just to review the roadmap for the next bit. There's maybe people like, oh, I really want to see this, or this is really important to me, those kind of questions. Like the operators come in as well, so that probably should be on there with some kind of timescales as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I think from an action side, let's use this wiki, and then maybe use this kind of the GitHub way. I kind of like the project. Maybe we could have these giant issues in at least like in both repos that represent, hey, this is the issue for Fluent D's Q3 roadmap. Here's something for Fluent Bit, and here's who's like possibly behind it as well.
Yeah, because I presume you can filter. Yeah, you must be able to filter. Yeah, if you only care about Fluent Bit, you could just say, just show me the roadmap.
Yeah.
For kind of discussions. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to lend a hand as well. I don't want to just come up with like idea. Oh, I think it'd be really good if you guys did all this work.
Yeah, and it'd be really, really awesome to collaborate on something like that. Yeah, and I saw that you carved out some time Monday, so I might say, hey, let's grab some time then and try to.
Yeah, Monday's the best day for me, and I figured if I do afternoon, then you guys might be awake. So, yeah, I mean the others. Yeah, I'm not overly fussed if we do with GitHub's approach or whatever. The main reason was we're on GitHub already. They've invested some time, effort, money into doing these kind of things. So you would hope that they would be kind of supported and kind of improving as well, rather than us making up another way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And then, if we come up with something, presenting it at FluentCon, we can present the roadmap and be like, by the way, you can just also view it here. Here's like how you'll get updates without having to join a conference.
Yeah.
Every time.
So if I summarize that, so I think we've got there's the two problems. There's like, how do we know what's in a release? And there's the roadmap. So the roadmap, it sounds like we're fairly happy to do kind of high level blocks of stuff using that approach. And then for the what's in the release, there's obviously all the problems you've got, Eduardo, with like maintaining it and doing it. And we need to focus on automation, I think, to try and how do we spit out, something like a release note for each release without you having to do anything extra would be the ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that for a release note, that's not a problem because we have some scripts that pick up also every commit and compose the release note. Always there's a kind of manual cleanup, right? But in general, what I'm missing is the PR number where every commit comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, because the ones I've really struggled with where it's like there's an issue, it's been fixed, and then it's merged to master, and I don't know where that then, like which one of the many releases that is then started from. So that's the kind of, yeah.
I think part of the automation can also be things that have been merged to master, but have not been tagged in release, and we just have to not like we can like I was looking at one the other day. I was like, oh, we should get this out there, which was like Apache Skywalking plugin. And I was like, oh, okay, so this thing has been merged, but it hasn't been selected for release. Maybe we can label it with like needs a release tag or something. And then we can review that on an ongoing cycle. Like, oh, shoot, okay, why is this not release tagged? Oh, okay, it's using like something else, or hey, there's something waiting. and we don't have necessarily like, okay, hey, the maintenance of this is actually the part that we're worried about. Is someone going to sign up to, do the testing for this? But I think that automation can help us make the decisions for like what label it goes in. And that way it's not too much of a burden on like every person must put a label. We can continue doing what we're doing. Well, now we just have a new checklist we can check every month or so.
Yeah,
Actually, that needs to be manual, I think, the labels. Because, for example, yeah, so talking at this example that Apache Arrow, right? I saw the PR, it was reviewed, but my concern was from a maintainer's perspective and packaging the release. Hey, if I ship this, I'm going to miss some package dependencies on the RPMs, the Debians.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I'm going to break something if I add it now.
Yeah.
So I prefer to hold it back. Right. But if I get another PR that, for example, Leonardo, who's in the call, is doing some DNS fixes, networking stuff, which fixes should be, for the stable version and the development version, I would like to have a way to say, okay, this is a PR, I should apply a label because this must be backported so nobody forgets about it.
Yeah.
And that's manual, right?
Yeah.
But once it's backported, we have to have another label to say, yeah, this is ready. And before the release, maybe we can check out, hey, let's take a look at the 1.8 branch of the PRs for 1.8. Is everything aligned? Was everything merged? Are we missing something or not? So I think that is mostly a manual workflow, a procedure that we have to describe. I don't think that is too complex. It's, we have to come up with a solution.
Yeah. The automated part I was suggesting was more, we just see what PRs there are like today that, okay, they're merged in master, but haven't been tagged with the release. So that way we can be like, okay, that one of them is a DNS merge. Okay, that should be backported. That one should. And then going forward, yeah, I think you're right. Maybe it's just hey, throw on a label where we need this to hit. Yeah.
Yeah, and that will help maintenance because also imagine that, I don't know, we have a couple of people has right access to the repo, right? And imagine that, imagine I would be in vacation or Wesley will be out, but somebody say, yeah, I have right access. Oh, let me take a look at which PRs must be merged back into 1.8.
Yeah, exactly. Easy to see all those.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I saw something like that in Grafana.
Okay. Oh, maybe we can borrow from what they're.
Yeah. Let's try to do some research on that.
Okay. I'm gonna write a quick list of actions here.
Yeah. Anyone else have any suggestions? I've been talking a lot, certainly.
Are we still on that subject, or is this an open discussion question?
I think we can go on to another topic if we want.
Yeah, I'm curious about the Kafka as an input, which I heard rumors about some months ago. I'm very much interested because I want to advocate for my favorite tool, Fluent Bit. It would be easier to squeeze it in a whole bunch of little niches if we can get it going as an input and an output, and the full pipeline coolness, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that would be a great addition. Actually, we have been a bit overloaded with fixes, bugs, and the metrics part. If you want to contribute it and you have the room for that, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I was curious about the state of it so I can see what currently exists and start trying to add to it to bring it closer to being done.
Yeah, actually, nothing exists right now. Okay. So, yeah, so my suggestion would be like, okay, if you're going to integrate the Kafka input, I know that is a high demand part, just move, I would say, step one, move the RT Kafka library to the main library dependencies.
Oh, I see what you're thinking.
So
okay.
then both can connect to the same library, right? The input and the output, and start from there.
Good thinking. I'll update you on that.
Yeah, if we could have an in Kafka plugin.
I know, isn't that cool?
I would cheer. Yeah.
Yeah, I will use it.
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm LinkedIn, Kafka, you know, have you did a lot of the other Kafka, but it'd be awesome. And I think we could help with some integration tests, which would be maybe easy
It would greatly expand my knowledge of FluentBit. All I did was minimally disruptive insertion to get the Avro support in. I'm really interested in seeing how the rest of this thing works and how it was done in C.
Yeah, we should have like plugin overview sessions. How to build your first FluentBit plugin. I think we slightly mentioned it earlier, but one thing on the roadmap for us is like WebAssembly plugins, and that is a way for, hey, if you don't want to write it in C, we could accept plugins written in whatever language, Rust, JavaScript, whatever can compile to WebAssembly, and then you still get the good performance. So that's something that's on the roadmap there too, which might help extend all these type of resources.
I know that we're going to run out of time, and I think that this is the second time. Might we consider to extend this meeting? Not now, but for the next time.
I'm in favor of that. Maybe like 45 minutes, or are we thinking about an hour?
I think 45 is good. So,
Yeah, I would say
Yep.
not more than 45.
45 sounds okay. An hour is where people will stretch to fill the time. We don't want to.
yeah.
And people turn up late as well because they're like, oh, it's going for an hour. I can join 10 minutes late. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep it 45 then. Yeah, I'll update that for the next one.
I see you got the cursor on the Ian Kafka line, but you haven't typed anything. And I guess that's accurate. I'm going to look into it and probably take action, but it has got no official company support on my side. So I'll do it when I can and when I want to.
Oh, great.
And then, yeah, feel free to reach out to Roberto.
Well, we can send a letter to your manager, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to work that out. And I'm going to do it per Eduardo's recommendation. First step is get the RD Kafka support into the different level in the repo. That's not fun. Oh, well.
I think that you did a harder job with the Evero. I think that was more complex.
That was really hard.
So yeah, and actually RT Kafka is already linked and compiled, right? So, and it's CMake, so I don't think that is too complex. Yeah, it's change how things connect, right? I don't know about the input plugin. That's a different story. But the good thing is that that library spawned a thread, right?
Okay, I'm going to extend this to 45 minutes. Does this time work well with folks? I wanted to.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, cool. All right. Then, yeah, okay. Bye for now.
See y'all.
Thanks, everybody.